Whenever I make a video about an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode, I always ask for recommendations so I know what other episodes I should check out. And although tons of episodes get recommended, there's a few that show up way more than others. And this episode is the one I have seen the most. It's called The Tale of the Pinball Wizard. And I'm gonna go ahead and do a little spoiler alert right here. I'm not sure if you guys are just messing with me, or you haven't seen this episode in a long time, or maybe I just have really bad taste on this one, but I really did not like this episode, except for the ending. We'll get back to that later, but the ending I really liked. But overall, this episode feels very rushed, and the acting is really bad, and the special effects are terrible. Besides the ending, I really don't think there's many redeeming factors in this episode. But let's go ahead and take a look at it anyway so we can see if I'm wrong. Again, this episode is called The Tale of the Pinball Wizard, and it's the 13th episode from the first season of the show. It has a 7.9 out of 10 on IMDb, which is actually pretty good, especially considering some of these episodes dip all the way down to 5s. So I'm probably going to be in the minority here on not liking this one, but that's okay. The synopsis says, Ross, a mischievous kid, goes to the mall where his old habits sometimes get the best of him. So, am I wrong for not liking this one? Let's take a look at it and find out. Once again, the episode starts with the Midnight Society sitting around a fire getting ready to hear a scary story, but this time they're also playing with the Game Boy, and they are infatuated with this thing. I mean, really infatuated with it. Look at this dude's face. They all fight over this thing, taking it from each other, crying, arguing, until Gary comes in and takes it away. I know it's the early 90s and Game Boys were really hot, but these guys were being a little too intense about it. Gary then settles them all down and starts his story. He basically says, what if there was a video game where if you died in it, you died in real life? No resets, no redos, that was just it. And then we get started in the actual episode. It takes place in a mall, and we're immediately introduced to the main character of this episode, a kid named Ross. Gary says that Ross is used to being on his own and he knows how to get things done, and if there's something he wants, he's gonna get it. They show us this in two ways. First, just check out Ross getting a quarter out of a payphone. I mean, come on, obviously he's a rebel who can take care of himself. And second, we see Ross fighting a homeless lady for a quarter that they found in a fountain. After the security guard yells at them, Ross runs away and leaves the quarter with the homeless lady. I don't know, Ross, I expected more out of you, buddy. After Ross is done hiding from the security guard, he takes a good hard look at this super soaker. Foreshadowing. Ross then ends up at this antique repair shop where he's begging the owner, Mr. Olson, for a job. I guess he's been trying to get a job there for a long time because Mr. Olson is very annoyed about it. They end up in the back room where Ross finds a pinball machine under a tarp, and Mr. Olson quickly tells him, do not touch that, it is not for playing. Mr. Olson then tells Ross to just go play the pinball machine out front, but when Ross goes out there, not even 20 seconds passes before Mr. Olson comes out and says, get out, we're closing. But after some more begging, Ross convinces Mr. Olson to let him run the shop for him while he's at lunch. Mr. Olson lays down some ground rules about not touching anything and makes it very clear he is not to touch that pinball machine in the back. He says it's very important, do not play it. He then heads out for lunch and leaves Ross in charge. So, of course, the second Mr. Olson leaves, Ross runs back there and pulls the tarp off of the machine. And look at it. It does not look very impressive to me, but Ross acts like it's the best thing he's ever seen. He starts to play it, and then the camera zooms out, and we see Mr. Olson outside listening in, and he seems pretty happy to hear Ross is actually playing the machine. After Ross loses in the game, he hears there's a customer up front, and he's really annoyed about it, until he pulls away the curtain and sees Sophie. Then he starts making this goofy face. Dude's like dumbstruck as to why there'd be a girl in there, but it turns out she's there to collect her music box that Mr. Olson was supposed to be fixing. Of course, Ross can't find it because he doesn't actually work there, so she ends up leaving empty-handed. And I just want to say, this scene goes on for 1.5 minutes, which doesn't sound long, but when it's 1.5 minutes of just two people stumbling around a store looking for something they can't find, it's a long time. After she leaves, Ross goes back in the back and keeps playing that pinball machine. He plays it so long that before he knows it, the mall is closed and he's locked in and cannot get out. Ross then hears a payphone ringing, and when he runs and answers it, it's just an old man who says, "Got an umbrella?" And then it starts raining quarters behind him. And of course, Ross, being the self-sufficient rebel he is, starts pocketing as many quarters as he can. Wet clothes be damned. But while he's doing that, these Blues Brothers looking knockoff guys try to grab him, only for them to stop at the water line, and that's how he realizes they're scared of water. Ross then hears the girl from the shop yelling at him, and he looks up and sees Sophie up there in a dress this time, getting grabbed by some weird clown looking dude. I'm not sure what he's supposed to be, but she's yelling at him, "Get the tiara, get the tiara," and then gets dragged away. I do want to point out Ross's acting in this. Look how he responds to seeing Sophie. It's so unnatural.
Sophie?
Ross! The tiara!
Sophie? I know it's a kid's show, but this show has had some really good actors on it, and this one just does not hold up. Sophie then drops a key down, and Ross proceeds to splash these guys to make them go away, and it is the dumbest looking thing. Could you splash in a dumber looking way? And look how they react. It's just lame. Ross then grabs the key and heads over to the storage lockers, and after opening a couple with weird little pranks like throwing guacamole in his face, he finds the right one and opens it up, and what's inside? A headband. Alright, so he grabs the headband and walks away. After he heads up the escalator to the second level, the headband turns into a crown. Yay! And all the quarters he pocketed earlier turned into marbles. Double yay! Ross then sees Sophie across the mall and he chases her down, but once he catches her, she's being taken away by a man in an executor suit, and he's confronted by a witch. And not just a witch, a horrible looking witch in a really terrible costume. This makeup looks dumb. This is not scary. The witch then uses her super breath and blows him down the hall, and he comes falling out the doors in the lamest way I've ever seen. The guy just casually lays down on the floor and is apparently briefly knocked unconscious from this, because the witch just takes the crown from him all nonchalantly. After Ross wakes up from his brutal concussion, he runs back to the antique shop and he finds Sophie there tied up. He unties her and she says they need to get the throne, which is apparently the music box she brought in to be repaired. So they go up front and grab that, but then Sophie says they still also need to get the crown, but before they can finish their thought, they're attacked by the executor. And look at it, it's so vicious. If they were a piece of ceramic, they'd be smashed right now. He's so slow. So they easily power walk away from him, but then they run back into the witch, who's still just standing there making googly eyes at the crown for some reason. The witch finally decides to put the crown on, but before she can get it on her head, they open the music box up and the crown disappears. We're then treated to one of the goofiest acting jobs I've seen on this show.
They must have the throne!
They then hide the music box in a trash can before being attacked by the executor again. However, he leaves his mace on the trash can, and Ross tiptoes around him gracefully and gets it from him. They then run off with it. Then, while they're running, they just happen to see the crown just floating there. There's nothing around it, there's nothing stopping them, so they just casually reach up and grab it. Now they have both, the music box and the crown, like Sophie was saying they needed. After they grab it, the witch shows back up. But what do you think they do to defeat her? Do you think they use the mace? Anything cool? No. They grab the marbles out of his pocket and, well, just look at it.
Yes, right?
I understand that we're supposed to be using some level of video game logic here, but come on, that was lame. We couldn't have done something cooler, or at least had better acting when it came to it? Like, that just looked pathetic. The one-eyed weirdo then grabs Sophie, and she throws the crown down and tells Ross just get it to the third level, she'll be fine. So he goes after it, and it's not very graceful. He then goes back and grabs the music box and leaves the mace behind, but now he has the music box and the crown in his hands, and he goes up the escalator to the third level. I'm not sure what the point of him having the mace was at all. He never used it, it was just kinda there. Once he gets up top, the music box turns into a full-sized throne. But not just a throne, This thing is like a throne-shaped go-kart. It flies around the mall, and at one point the witch is back and she tries to get in the way and this thing just plows right through her. Well, at least a crappy looking mannequin of the witch. Either way, she's actually gone for good now. After the throne comes to a stop, an elevator opens and the one-eyed guy steps out. He grabs Ross and throws him into the elevator and sends him back down to the first floor. Oh no, do you think Ross is gonna have to redo everything now that he's back on level 1? Nope, everything's still open. He just takes the escalators right back up to level 3. Except this time, he makes a little pit stop. Yep, he grabs the super soakers we saw earlier, because we know at least some of these villains are afraid of water. So now, armed with his trusty super soaker, Ross heads up to level 3, and this is what he sees. Tell me this isn't the lamest group of villains you've ever seen. Like, this would not scare anybody. This is not deserving of an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode. But either way, once we're up there, Ross sprays some of the villains with water and they evaporate in the cheapest looking way possible. Then, after a very lame, quote-unquote, fight, Ross sprays the one-eyed guy and he melts into the chair. Kind of. More like just slowly, horribly CGI disappears also. Sophie then sits on her throne and Ross puts the crown on her head, and then in a bright flash of light, Ross is back downstairs in the mall and everything is back to normal. The end. Or is it? See, this is where the twist ending comes, and this is the one part of the episode I actually really like. What actually happens is Ross looks up and through the skylight sees a giant Mr. Olsen looking down on him and laughing. It then zooms out and we see Mr. Olsen playing the pinball machine, and from the top-down view, you can actually see Ross inside of it, very tiny, running around in the mall in the machine. Ross is now stuck forever in the pinball machine, just replaying that game he just played over and over and over. When it cuts back to the Midnight Society, Gary even clarifies that this kid is stuck in there forever and never gets out, which scares all the other kids into not wanting the Game Boy back at all. So after watching it again, has my opinion changed at all? No, I think this episode is still terrible. I think it has a very interesting premise, it was just done so horribly. No offense to anyone who was in this episode, and I'm sure everyone got better, but in this episode, the acting is really bad. And one of the things Are You Afraid of the Dark normally does really well is makeup and special effects, but in this episode, they're all so cheap looking, nothing looks scary, nothing even looks slightly real. And I know some people are going to argue, hey, it's supposed to be in a pinball machine, it's supposed to be goofy, it's supposed to be video game logic. But that just doesn't cut it for me. Even with all that going on, it still could have been done well. If the acting and the costumes and special effects were done well, it wouldn't have taken away from that. And it would have made the episode so much better. For me, this episode is a major flop. It had a great premise, but it didn't deliver in any way. Except for that ending. I still love the ending. But what about you? Do you love this episode? Have you watched it recently to find out if you still like it? Let me know in the comments below, and send me any more recommendations. I still want to watch every episode you guys tell me to watch. And don't forget to subscribe so you can see more videos like this. Thanks for watching.